Alone. Alone, all alone, alone on a wide, wide sea. And never a saint took pity on my soul in agony. A many men, so beautiful, and they all dead did lie. And 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I.
The Rime of the Ancient Mariner is one of the most famous poems in the English language. It's so well known that it even has a presence in idiomatic expressions in the English language. That is to say, you might hear a person refer to an albatross in reference to a burden or some aspect of the past that would be better gotten rid of. Although we think of this as an eerily, spookily, timeless, imaginative sort of poem, it is tied to a particular historical moment. For one thing, Coleridge first composed the Ancient Mariner during what we call the Lyrical Ballads period, the year of his collaboration with William Wordsworth, which gave rise to their anonymously published poetry collection Lyrical Ballads. And indeed, Wordsworth contributed lines and even entire stanzas to Coleridge's ballad. Such was the nature of the creative symbiosis between those writers at the time. Secondly, the Rime of the Ancient Mariner began its life as a parody of supernatural balladry that was fashionable at the time, meaning the late 18th century. A certain fatigue had crept in with this kind of poem, and Coleridge was making fun of it. In fact, if you read another of Coleridge's poems, Dejection and Ode, you'll find that it begins with a stanza quoted from another Gothic ballad, the Ballad of Sir Patrick Spence. So Coleridge was attuned to this genre and to the possibility that it was perhaps worn out, worth making fun of. So a work that is often proclaimed a masterpiece of literature began as a kind of joke, and Coleridge didn't take its existence very seriously. But that changed. As time went on, Coleridge started to recognise a potency in what he had written, that it had a correspondence with his deepest feelings about themes such as sin, the nature of guilt, crime and punishment, and his speculations on the spirit world based on a vast range of esoteric reading. Coleridge was first motivated to write the poem by money. He and Wordsworth wanted to go to Germany, which was then the raging centre of Bohemian culture. They needed cash to get there. They tried writing plays, but none of the theatres in London wanted the plays that they wrote, so they turned to poetry instead. So the text was written as entertainment, and the story doesn't seem to have been planned in advance in any particular detail. As they walked together around the southwest of England, discussing the works they would write together, Wordsworth and Coleridge came up with this basic idea of an old sailor who is punished for a crime he commits. But the succession of episodes as they occur in The Ancient Mariner seems to have been largely spontaneous, unplanned, as Coleridge wrote it. And this indeed may account for the rather problematic idea of morality in the poem, which we'll give special attention. When reviews of the Lyrical Ballads collection started to appear, some of them made fun of the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And further editions of Lyrical Ballads were published, with different poems in them, and Wordsworth became embarrassed by the Ancient Mariner. First he pushed it to the back of the collection, and then he omitted it entirely. So Wordsworth's lack of confidence in the Rime of the Ancient Mariner was one reason for Coleridge's own curious attitude towards it. But as I said, Coleridge started to see a figurative significance in it. He returned to the text again and again, revising it at different times for the rest of his life until death in 1834. Some of these changes were bigger than others. He modernised the spelling. He deleted entire passages, creating new ones. Coleridge became an opium addict, incapable of completing creative projects, a bad friend incapable of maintaining personal relationships. As his own life became more and more unhappy, as he himself was ever more haunted by feelings of wrongdoing, guilt, and shame. He identified increasingly with the mariner,